Picture this. You are in a prison cell. Supermax, the most secure facility in Australia. You cannot make calls freely. You cannot receive unfiltered news. You cannot do anything except sit and wait. Then the word comes through. Your uncle has been shot dead outside his home. Months later, another message. Your cousin, shot. Then another family member. Then another. By the time you walk out of those prison gates, 5 people from your family have been killed in a gang war that erupted while you were inside and could not do a single thing about it. You walk out into a world where the clan you belong to has been systematically dismantled, where the enemy that did it is now the dominant power in Western Sydney, and where a $2 million bounty is allegedly circulating on your head before you have even had time to find somewhere to sleep. This is the story of Mohammed Hamzy, known as Little Crazy, known as LC, a man whose criminal career is inseparable from one of the most extraordinary family sagas in the history of Australian organised crime. Thank you for watching our video. Don't forget to hit subscribe to support us. That is exactly what keeps us going and gives us the motivation to keep making videos like this one. Now, let's go back to the beginning. To understand Mohammed Hamzy, you need to understand the family he was born into. The Hamzy clan, Lebanese-Australian, southwestern Sydney. A family whose criminal trajectory begins with one man sitting in a prison cell and builds outward from there in ways that define the next 2 decades of Sydney's underworld. Bassam Hamzy, Mohammed's cousin, is serving 21 years for a nightclub murder committed in 1998. From inside Goulburn Correctional Centre's Supermax unit, the most secure facility in Australia, Bassam founds Brothers for Life, a criminal organisation built inside prison walls. Its founding members? Inmates. Bassam has converted to a radicalised sect of Islam. Its purpose? To extend Bassam's power and influence beyond the walls that physically contain him. Brothers for Life grows rapidly across Sydney's southwestern suburbs through the late 2000s and into the 2010s. Multiple chapters, hundreds of members and associates, a network that operates across drug distribution, violence, and intimidation. Mohammed Hamzy, known as Little Crazy, known as LC, is one of its most senior figures on the outside. The name Little Crazy is not casual. In a family and an organisation where reputation is currency, a nickname that signals volatility and fearlessness is an asset. He is not the founder. He is not the patriarch, but by the early 2000s and 10s, he is one of the most active and dangerous members of a family that Sydney police have been watching with serious concern for years. In 2015, Mohammed Hamzy is convicted of manslaughter. He is sentenced to prison. He enters Macquarie Correctional Centre in Wellington, 360 kilometres west of Sydney. He will spend nearly 8 years inside. While he is there, the world he left behind begins to fall apart in ways he cannot control and cannot stop. The trigger is a war that has been building for years. The Hamzy family, through Brothers for Life, and the Alamedine crime network, based in Maryland's Western Sydney, led by Rafat Alamedine, at its peak generating an alleged $1 million in weekly drug profits. 2 of the most powerful criminal organisations in Sydney, occupying the same territory, competing for the same market, accumulating the same grievances. The war begins in earnest in October 2020, and it is Mohammed Hamzy's family, not him, because he is in a cell 360 kilometres away, that absorbs most of what follows. October 19, 2020. Mejid Hamzy, Mohammed's uncle and one of the most senior Hamzy figures operating on the street, is shot dead outside his Condell Park home. Multiple gunshots, dead on the scene. The NSW Crime Commission later confirms Mejid had purchased real estate with $650,000 in cash and put $350,000 in cash through his bank accounts. His estate eventually settles proceeds of crime proceedings for $1.4 million. On the same morning Mejid is killed, the home of the family's matriarch, Maha Hamzy, is sprayed with bullets. Mohammed is in a cell in Wellington when both of these things happen simultaneously. The war does not pause, it escalates. Across 2020, 2021, and into 2022, members of the Hamzy family are killed, targeted, and displaced one by one. By the time Mohammed Hamzy is released from Macquarie Correctional Centre in June 2023, 5 people from his family and close circle have been gunned down. The Alameddines and the Comancheros have consolidated their position. The Hamzy clan's dominance in Western Sydney, which had been built across more than a decade, has been broken, while its most feared street-level figure sat in a prison cell, unable to respond. June 2023, Macquarie Correctional Centre, Wellington, NSW. Mohammed Hamzy, 37 years old, walks out. He has served nearly 8 years. He has emerged into a world that looks nothing like the one he left. The NSW State Parole Authority had initially refused his release, finding he poses an unacceptable risk to the community. NSW police feared his release could spark a wave of gang violence. He was eventually paroled in a specific way, released early for his own protection as much as for public safety. The calculation: a controlled release with strict conditions is safer than an uncontrolled release at sentence end. The conditions attached to his parole: an electronic monitoring tag, a ban on making contact with biker or crime gangs. New South Wales Police's Raptor team, which specifically targets outlaw motorcycle gangs, assigned to monitor him closely. And circulating in the underworld at the time of his release, rumours of a $2 million bounty on his head. Placed by whom, the public record does not confirm. But the figure is serious enough that it shapes everything that follows. A man who went to prison in 2015 with power and reputation walks out in 2023 with a target on his back and 5 family members in the ground. The conditions of his parole require him to remain in Australia, to report regularly, to stay away from criminal associations. The electronic tag tracks his movements. New South Wales Police are watching. But what happens next, according to reporting on his movements post-release, is that Mohammed Hamzy eventually leaves Australia. The specific circumstances of how he departs, whether through a legal process, a breach of conditions, or otherwise, are not fully confirmed in the verified public record available for this investigation. What reporting does indicate, he relocates. Dubai and Bali are mentioned in connection with his movements. The pattern is not unfamiliar in this series. Mark Buddle, Comanchero, fled to Dubai and Turkey. Duax Nakuru, Comanchero, fled to Istanbul. Hakan Ayik fled to Istanbul. The specific combination of a $2 million bounty, 5 dead family members, strict parole conditions that limit what he can do in Australia, and a criminal organisation that has lost its street dominance makes Australia a place where the risks of staying may outweigh whatever is left to protect. Whether that calculation is correct, and whether it constitutes a breach of the legal conditions he was released under, the public record has not resolved at the time of this investigation. Bassam Hamzy founds Brothers for Life from a supermax cell. Using inmates he converts to a radicalised sect of Islam. Mohammed Hamzy becomes one of its most senior street-level figures. In 2015, he is convicted of manslaughter and imprisoned. October 2020, his uncle Mejid Hamzy is shot dead in Condell Park. The same morning, matriarch Maha Hamzy's home is sprayed with bullets. Across 2020 to 2022, 5 people connected to the Hamzy family are killed in the war with the Alameddine network and Comancheros. Mohammed remains in prison throughout. June 2023. He is released on parole after the parole authority initially refuses. Electronic tag, no contact with criminal gangs. Raptor team monitoring, a $2 million bounty allegedly circulating on his head at time of release. He subsequently reportedly relocates to Dubai and Bali. As of July 2026, the status of any parole proceedings, charges, or return to Australia is not confirmed in the verified public record. Here is what the story of Mohammed Little Crazy Hamzy actually shows, and the questions it cannot answer. A man goes to prison in 2015 with power and standing inside one of Western Sydney's most formidable criminal organisations. He spends nearly 8 years watching from a cell he cannot leave as 5 people connected to his family are killed one by one. He walks out into a world where the organization his cousin built from a prison cell has been structurally dismantled by its enemies, where a $2 million bounty may be waiting for him, where the system that imprisoned him releases him on conditions that acknowledge he cannot safely stay and yet requires him to stay. And then, by the available reporting, he leaves. The first question this raises is a parole system that acknowledges a man poses an unacceptable risk to the community and simultaneously acknowledges that the community poses an unacceptable risk to him, actually capable of managing either of those realities? Can a monitoring tag protect someone from a $2 million contract? Can the Raptor squad prevent the next shooting when the people doing the shooting are not the ones being monitored? The second question is harder. Brothers for Life was built by a man in a supermax cell. The organisation that emerged from that cell went on to shape Western Sydney's criminal landscape for more than a decade. It produced, among everything else, a nephew who went to prison for manslaughter and came out to find his family decimated. The lesson is not that Bassem Hamzy is exceptionally dangerous. The lesson is that an organisation built on family loyalty and religious conversion inside a prison is an organisation that the prison system itself helped create. The conditions that made Brothers for Life possible were institutional: overcrowding, radicalisation, the specific social dynamics of a supermax unit, where one persuasive man with time and grievances can build something that outlasts his sentence by decades. For our community in Aotearoa, the connection is direct. Bassem Hamzy's organisational model, criminal networks built inside prisons and extended outward, is not unique to Australia. It is the same model that produced the Headhunters Twitton Trust, that produced the meth cook partnerships that Operation Flower caught, that produced every organisation this series has documented, where the prison system functioned not as a circuit breaker, but as an incubator. What do you reckon? When a prison produces an organisation more dangerous than the man it was designed to contain, who is actually responsible for what comes next?